In times of uncertainty, the well-being of your loved ones becomes your top priority.
Days of heavy rains across the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, triggering massive floods.
Mandatory evacuations are in place in areas around Houston, Texas, as a major river there quickly rises.
And when the world feels unpredictable, MonkeyWorksPrep.com is here to help you secure peace of mind. Through our affiliate program with My Patriot Supply, MonkeyWorksPrep.com provides you with the supplies to prepare for any situation. From long-term food supplies to smaller prepping kits, you will have everything you need to take care of your family. Because knowing you're prepared is more than just planning. It's about spending time without worry, knowing your loved ones are taken care of. Visit MonkeyWorksPrep.com today.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Opsmic here. It's going to be your sit rep at 7/11/2024, coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into Skyglass. Sitting at around 230 mil aircraft up over the United States. I have already stripped out probably 150 trainers. And let's just look at what you got. KC-135s and B-76-200s. And you can see very heavy around the Northeast, obviously, because you got NATO in town. But I did notice we got quite a few interesting ones, and that is this is a 3-ship over the center of the U.S. We've got a 2-ship down here on the border of Texas, and then another one that's headed down towards this side of Texas. So pretty active over Texas in terms of air refuelers, which would indicate fighters, as always. So, hey, listen, before we get too far in, for the folks over on the tube, when you're watching this, if you could go in, hit that like and subscribe. Our numbers are just, we continue to get squeezed by the tube. And from time to time, they like to just inadvertently unsubscribe people. So if you would just double check that, make sure, please, it helps the channel over there. So, okay, so let me do this. As we get into the air refueler piece, let me back that out. I want to show you the H-60s. Again, Northeast, very active. Let's see. That's kind of scattered over the United States. 21 H-60 Blackhawks. And then go down a little further. We got some H-47s. These are Chinooks. And it's that banana copter that flies around with the double blades on it. And 13 of those, I think, let me just double check. I think some of these, I need to add that to my quiver. But I think some of these are probably going to take us over to Europe. And yeah, it is very busy in England, as always, right? Okay. Back over to CONUS. You'll see we got a couple high flyers up. And let's just get into the deets of the watch list in terms of what we got going on. So this is going to be your watch list. We'll start out over the UK, just a couple C-17s. The thing that I'm not seeing that I typically do see, E-3 Sentries. Well, not seeing E3s, and I'm not seeing R135s. And then you get down over Southern California, you'll just notice we got an E3 Sentry off the California coast. Again, advanced warning, you got a lot of third-party intel aircraft. And then, of course, here are these air refuelers headed down to the Texas border. We just talked about them. A lot of P-8s, a lot of air refuelers elsewhere. And off the East Coast, you can just see just packed when it comes to refuelers. So now this, that's going to be your DOJ, right? FBI, DOJ folks. They're going to be at the leadership level aircraft. And then let me just see something here as we kind of get into some more refuelers. Yeah, let me see if I've got the best thing. Let's do this. I want to show you still, these are starting to separate. They came together and now they're starting to spread back out. We're going to try and track them and see how long we can track them. But those are going to be your mil intel balloons called Thunderbolts. They are up about 70, 80,000 feet, well above commercial traffic. Now, this is your intel stuff. Very odd flight pattern for intel. Now, notice, I'm going to hit pause here just for a second because I want you to notice I am putting the aircraft type image over here across from me. I'm going to try to do that because I know we've got a lot of people that watch the show that aren't really familiar with aircraft. When I show you the trace lines, you don't know what really is being traced, right? So, and so these images will help you kind of put into perspective what kind of aircraft we are actually tracking. Okay. Third party, this is LaSalle Aviation in this particular image, but the Intel aircraft could be Army, could be a lot of different Intel things, but just notice very odd flight patterns over the west side of the United States. And then of course you can see some stuff flurrying out of kind of southern Louisiana, etc. Look at this over Kaliningrad, around Kaliningrad. Kick it up to the side. This is only 3 days worth of intel gathering. So this is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Okay. In and out of Constanta, a lot of stuff going on in Romania. Where I don't see it, which is very strange, Israel. Israel's gone dark. Like they, I think, maybe got wind that we are, watching their flights. I don't go into a lot of detail of what is going on there, but I wanted to point that out that they have kind of gone dark, as have other things. Now, this is going to be Navy P-8s. These are sub-hunters. Notice the flurry off of Hawaii. We'll look at that when we get to the NOTAMs. To the center of the U.S., kind of odd to see Navy P-8s. Of course, they've got ground-penetrating radar and a bunch of other different things. Southern Florida, you expect it. Most of that is kind of the usual. Northern UK. And then this piece is where it gets a little more interesting. Remember, the Navy P-8 is what took out the Nord Stream. And so just notice you got them down into Malta area, right up onto the coastline of Israel. And then you can see some broken traces coming out of Bahrain. And I see one little blip, I thought, over Okinawa. But then you get down, we've got a little bit to the north in Australia and then a little over to the east coast of Australia. Okay, let's talk drones. Again, images over here so you can see it's a Q4 drone. There could be some Q9s in there too. The only difference between the two is altitude, airspeed, and basically one's a jet, one is a prop job. But you can see these very long traces coming out of Southern California across the United States, more than likely gathering data. And then you could see low altitude drones. That would not be Q4. This would be a different type of drone. Same thing over the Mediterranean. This high altitude stuff will be Q4s more than likely. But notice what they're looking at. Israel, Lebanon, probably all the way into Syria and Iraq from there with that capability. But and then we get over, you can see just this one that goes almost straight up, little corkscrew stuff out of Okinawa. All right, that's going to be your drone activity. Again, lighter than usual. Now let's talk R-135. Now this one is your Nuke sniffer over the United States. I just find it interesting, the pattern, much like our intelligence aircraft, a very odd collection pattern. And again, image over there so you can see what they look like. Now, we know for an absolute fact they are down into South America. They've been wiping those flights. And here's the other piece that I find very interesting, and that is the fact that nothing showing over Europe. Very unusual. And this one, remember, side-looking aircraft. So that is looking down into Mexico. All right. And then you can see, again, kind of heading up. This is SIG Intel, right? So they're gathering anything and everything that is transmitting signals, okay? All right. That's going to be your R-135s. Let's talk E6s. This is TACAMO. Take charge, move out is what that acronym TACAMO stands for. It is a Navy platform. It just is an indicator of where we have subs. West Coast, looks like we've got a nuclear subs off of the California coast, in the Gulf of Mexico, and off the East Coast. And then we know for a fact we've got them over here in Europe, and they are not showing, okay? All right, now let's talk AWACS. Again, image over there in the corner so you can see what I am tracking here. Notice this one kind of heads out to the North Sea. Just interesting because it can track ships. It can do a lot of different things, but it's an advanced warning aircraft, so it's looking for nukes in essence. That's kind of the primary stuff that it does. But then you can see a little blip jumping up out of Okinawa and then down into Australia, the usual stuff, okay? All right. Now, this piece I thought is interesting. There are some E2s in there. That's going to be the green stuff to the north. But notice that they do these little marshalling patterns off the East Coast, right? Down near Savannah, Hunter, Air Reserve Base, etc. Down to the Texas coastline. That's where we're seeing the fighter activity, right? Clearly, there's something going on down in Mexico. Clearly, because you don't put fighters up on your southern border to handle foot traffic, okay? You just don't do that. It's just highly unusual. There's certainly something going on. Hey, also, I did want to point out, let me see. You got 1E6 up again. That's Airborne Command. But I did see the Doomsday plane is up again. It is pretty usual for that to be airborne. That is not uncommon for those to be there. But let me just flag it for you so you can see that's going to be your Doomsday aircraft. And yeah, anyway, there is that. All right. But just want to point that out. It's up all the time, folks. And there are, I think, 4 of them total, I think. So, okay. Now let's talk air refuelers for a quick hot minute. And you're going to just note that off the West Coast, very active and busy. Again, image over there showing you what they're doing. Down to the Texas border, off the Florida coast, out somewhere out there in the Caribbean. And then you can see up the East Coast, big time. And then see the transitions going across into Europe, across up to Alaska. Now remember, the Germans have a big exercise going on with the U.S. up in Alaska right now. I think it goes till the 18th. And then off of England, near the North Sea, right? That's one of their little marshalling pattern locations for air refueling hookups. And then down to the Mediterranean, and then you can see just pushing it right up to the Israeli border as we try to continue to manipulate and control Israel. Okay. And that may be why actually Israel's gone dark with what they're tracing, because they know the U.S. is watching. All right. Okay. Last one on the board here from that standpoint is the Russians. The old Ruskies. You can see a little flight into Kaliningrad. Looks like it went direct over Belarus. This flight right here, that's Putin coming out of India. All right, you can see him heading back home, in and out. All right. Rest of it, just usual traffic, a lot of transports. Not going to be bombers or anything like that. It'll be the AWAC, their version of the AWACS, etc. Transports, that type of thing. So, okay. Now, let's talk C-17 Globemasters, all right? Again, image over here so you know what I'm talking about in the corner. You can see some big transitions out of Australia into Southeast Asia, into India. Look at the thick trace lines going into Bahrain, right? And then you can see just a lot of thick traces headed in the Middle East into other locations of Europe, right? You got Ramstein, but then you have other spots like Frankfurt, etc., where we continue to move stuff. I didn't see a lot going into RZE, but I'm sure they are there. And then a lot of flights in and out of Southern California into Hawaii. All right, and then you can see some stuff moving up into Alaska as well. I don't see a lot of border stuff other than a couple little onesie-twosies into maybe the Keys down towards Haiti, USVI, that kind of thing. So, okay. Now, let's get into our stories, and then we'll talk a little bit more. I've got some Omni stuff I want to share with you as well. But let's do this. We're going to start off over here with Flashbang and his schedule today. So, continuing, he's going to finish out the summit, and then this afternoon he has a press conference. I don't know what this press conference is going to be about, whether it is agreements that we've given more money to Ukraine, or if, who knows, maybe he's going to triple down because he's already doubled down in terms of staying in the race, Or this may be the point where he shows up and just surprises everybody and says, I'm backing out, right? There's a lot of calls for him to drop. And even you had Fancy Pants Pelosi even say that time was of the essence because they know they're down to about 30 days roughly until they have to declare their candidate and roughly, right? And once they do that, he's on the ballots, you're into a whole different can of worms because then it starts to get really interesting. So, but we know he's stubborn. I mean, I don't see him just easily walking away just because he is, he is a career politician or career thug, and he's just not going to let anybody chase him off. So, and honestly, that's probably good for Trump because, and it's good for us because you want this guy. You don't want Big Mike or Newsom or Hillary or somebody else jumping into this mix. So, going to be interesting 116 days to say the least. But this is, in my opinion, this is a little concerning. And the reason I say that is because, look, if you are within 116 days of being out of the White House, why are you, the House Oversight Committee, asking this question? At this point, it doesn't even matter. It's just stupid. It just goes to show you that these people are asleep at the wheel because we noticed that this guy wasn't right before he even took office, okay? But now they're trying to ask the question, hey, who's running the country? Who is running the country? You can't make this stuff up. This is absolutely hideous. We know who's running the country. It ain't this guy, all right? They're trying to figure out who his handlers are on his staff that are basically calling all the shots. We already know it's Obama. We know that. The Kenyan is, that's his handler, all right? It won't come out as that. This is just, I don't even know why they're doing it. They're just trying to turn up the heat probably, but let's move on. Okay, look at this. We talked about this on his schedule for today. This momentous press conference looms today as cracks form in his Senate wall, donations dry up, and the delegates rebel. Yeah. So let's see what happens. They're saying, hey, look, this is going to happen. I think it's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. But the interesting piece is it's supposed to be 91 degrees out. He's going to be out on the South Lawn, and let's just see what happens. Very interesting. Okay, somebody took a picture of that in his hand. So I guess, he's going to call on specific reporters to ask specific questions. Okay, I gotcha. All right, that does make a little more sense, doesn't it? Okay, moving on from the flashbang debacle, and let's get into what's going on out here. We talked about Hawaii, and so we got a lot of fighter activity. It looks like a lot of air refuelers, a lot of stuff happening out here, awax, etc., out off the West Coast. So looks like this is a continuation. So if you are in Hawaii, just know you got a lot of military stuff going on out there. Get down here to the southern box. And it's just, let's see text. And I'm looking for text, and I got no text. It's inactive. Again, this box will go red when it becomes an active box. It may be, well, I don't know. I don't want to even speculate on what that really is. Okay. And then, of course, notice we got a lot of things popping up here, all right? So you can see off the East Coast, as always, we are five deep in terms of danger boxes. That's probably why you got the AWACS loitering off this coastline. Okay. All right. Looking across, we see some stuff north of Iceland. It look like a little bit of activity here up in the Barents Sea. And everything else looks to be normal. I say normal. It's not normal, but it looks to be status quo. Okay. All right. Moving on. Biggs Army Airfield. The piece that I want to point out besides these Glex, these are Intel aircraft, okay. But notice Eastern Airline 777 rolling in from Pope Army Airfield. And then you got this SPA headed back. This one's headed to Travis Air Force Base. And let me see if I show it arriving. Yeah, it's coming out of Tucson. That's their operations location, okay. So probably coming in empty. but then it's going to Travis Air Force Base from there. Again, that is Biggs Army Airfield in El Paso. And we get up here to Dover, and the big point is just notice 747 showing up again and headed to Europe. All right. Go down a little further, you can see another one coming inbound from Ramstein, doing a round robin. Then we get over here to the Camber flights. You got them leaving Dover, leaving Ramstein. One of them looks to be a troop carrier. The other looks to be 747. Keep going. This is going to be Ramstein, all right? And you get down a little further, you can see the 747s arrive. The MD-11 from Rickenbacker. That's going to be troops. Another Trip 7 coming out of, that's Cairo, actually. And let's see, destination. So it's leaving, doesn't say where it's going. Western Global showing up. All right, that's MD-11. And then a couple 747s. Actually, a lot of 747s rolling into Ramstein. Now, when we get over here to RZE Poland is where it starts to get a little interesting because I'm not seeing too much on the board. A lot of this is commercial stuff. Remember, forward operating base, I see, an Atlas Air showing up, 747-800. That's a brand new aircraft. And then going down a little further, I can see it leaving, headed to Seoul. So really not seeing a lot of activity in and out of RZE. Okay, this is Constanta. Big thing takeaway here, base commanders rolling in and out. These Cross 46s, I don't really know what those are. That is certainly military. And it's Turkish Airlines, so some commercial stuff in and out of there as well. Okay, as always, they just keep putting more quarters in the machine. Denmark funds purchase of 18 Ukrainian Bodana howitzers for Kiev, okay? And, they're basically giving them more money, 155 millimeter NATO standard. You can see this vehicle doing its thing. But 18 more, all right? So they are really focusing on air defense. And most of the stuff, if, look, Ukraine has no money. They have our money. It's simple as that. So everything that's being bought is being stuff that's donated to them in terms of funds. It's endless, okay? And I'm sure we'll see more of it the minute that we go after this NATO thing wraps up, okay? Okay, look at this. NATO allies begin the transfer of F-16s to Ukraine as leaders meet in the United States. So this is the aircraft. So, been around a very long time. The ones Ukraine are getting are not the new modern builds. They are the older ones that they basically modified as they teach the Ukrainians how to fly. You may remember at one point last year, I believe it was, Flashbang came out and said, hey, we are not giving F-16s to Ukraine. Straight up bold-faced lie. They knew they were. This is their MO, right? They tell you one thing and do another. Nonetheless, this will be, it's not a game changer, but you will start to see these things getting targeted. They won't put them, very unlikely they'll park them in Ukraine because they'll get smoked the minute they put them on the ground. So they'll keep them at a distance, probably Constanta. You'll probably see them over in Poland, Romania, etc. So they'll keep them over into the ally countries. Okay, and then Germany explains the decision to host U.S. long-range missiles. So here we are. We're going to basically park them in Germany, long-range stuff. And that is a big game changer, and it's definitely being looked at as a very hostile move from Russia. And get over here, you can see Russia basically vows military response to the U.S. missile deployment plans. So look at this. Moscow views Washington's move as a method of intimidation. And just watch. It'll go back and forth. You will see Russia now parking their long-range missiles in locations that are within reach of not only NATO, but probably the United States. Think Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0, right? Now, I want to do this too before we get too far because I want to show you the Omni flights. This is important if you have been, if you're in Ohio and you're like, what the heck has just happened? You don't drop a number like this into a city without a lot of notice, okay? It's just going to stand out like a sore thumb. look at this. The flashbang regime into a swing state, I believe it is. Not good, but good for the Trump campaign, because this just basically takes people and puts them straight over to the Trump docket. So, but look at this. Biden floods Ohio town with 20,000 Haitian migrants, 10 to a bedroom. Now, there's got to be some type of a fire code that keeps you from putting so many people into a single room. I don't know how they get around it, probably because they have two sets of laws, some for you and some for them, right? And we will get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, where they are made of Teflon. They just do whatever they want to do and nobody touches them. So 20,000. Now, you may remember I was showing you the flights that just flurried into, not only from the Omni perspective, but from C-17 perspective, in and out of Haiti in the last sit rep. Well, this confirms that we were over the target when we said, yeah, they're bringing Haitians into the country. They move them, they put them down in the South America where they'll come up. You'll see them at the southern Texas border here soon too. But most of this, they're just flying them straight in. Okay. 20,000. All right. Moving on. Let's get over here. This is going to be the Brits. Just note they are headed up here to the northeast United States area. Well, it's not really in the U.S. It's Canada. But we've been watching a lot of C-17 traffic, etc., kind of bouncing into this area. More than likely, we are putting missile defense stuff up here, if I had to guess. Okay. Into Halifax. So, you're going to want it probably out here too. All right. And then this is national cargo. And the big thing is just see it coming in from Anchorage into JFK. I don't know if that's got anything on it or not. 747s though. But then you can see one that's not on the board headed from Bedford to Las Vegas. And that's a 757-200. So that could very well be migrants, illegals. And then this one too. Look, Hunter Army Airfield to March, right? We know they're bringing them into this location. So you saw the C-17s that came into Charleston. And, they probably bust them down to Savannah. They put them on flights at this military location, and they fly them out here. More than likely, that's what's going on here. Okay. All right. And from a NATO perspective, I got nothing on the board. So, all right, listen, that's going to do it for our sit rep today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. For those over into the Q&A, just stand by because we'll get started with that here in just a minute for the live show. So that's it, you guys. Be safe. Keep that powder dry. God bless. Monkey out.
In the heat of the moment, precision and excellence are paramount. It's a creed we live by, both in service and beyond. Our beans are sourced from the finest regions, roasted with perfection, and packed with care. Whether you prefer whole beans or ground coffee, Operator Espresso delivers a cup that's unmatched. Whether you're sharing stories with fellow veterans or gearing up for a demanding day, Operator Espresso is there to fuel your mission. Operator Espresso is more than just coffee. It's a tribute to excellence. Join us in our mission. Experience the difference. Taste the honor.